Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Girls Room, where you hear the conversations women want to hear from the guests they love and admire. Welcome to episode 4. I'm back home at Spark Studios, y'all. I am so excited to be back here and so excited to intro you into this conversation. So if you've been on social media, TikTok and Instagram, you know that the conversation is the great lock-in of 2025. And I don't know why it feels like people are just now kind of talking about this great lock-in. I know it's kind of been a thing years before, but all of a sudden everybody's like, that great lock-in. So we're going to talk about it because essentially, what is the great lock-in? It's between September to December, where you hone in on specifically the things that you want to laser focus on to go into the new year. So discipline, saying no when you need to say no, all the et cetera things. But with locking in, it sometimes comes with loneliness. Sometimes it's difficult. And sometimes it feels like this conversation of the great lock-in kind of just feels like for show. It kind of feels like the things that influencers want to talk about for views and likes. But how do you really lock in? Is it possible? Can we make that happen? So we're going to have a real conversation about it. And I'm so excited to welcome in, as I usually say, because I'm always excited, but this special guest I'm so excited to have, hailing from New Jersey, but she's an Atlanta peach. And I'm so excited to have Amari Green here. So let me give some time to boast about my guests real quick. So Amari is the co-host of the Standing on Business podcast, where they are nurturing careers one conversation at a time. Every episode, they keep us in check in making sure we stop playing with our purpose. Today, we're joined by somebody who truly embodies what it means to lead with purpose and passion. Amari, she's a creator and co-host, but we have to shout out Bianca as well. So shout out to her co-host, Bianca. We love Bianca. Amari is a senior project manager at Mount Sinai Health System in New York City. She is a mentor with Wonder Girls USA and the vice president of the Central Jersey chapter of the Black Girls Social Club. Amari is one of those people who knows how to lead with intention while still making everyone around her feel seen. She's actively building her legacy by creating conversations, communities, and real change. And I cannot wait for you to hear her. So welcome to the Girls Room.
Hi, sister.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. I love this space.
Thank you. Isn't it great?
Yes.
It's just the aura. It's very girl la la.
Yes, but it's also so you.
It is.
It's also so on brand.
Thank you.
Yes. And you know, we stand on business, so I love the alignment.
And period. And I love having you just in the Girls Room. You're my ultimate girl. So to have you here is a true honor. So we're going to get into segment 1. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it. All right. So the great lock-in.
Ooh.
Yeah. What the heck?
It's a thing.
Do we feel like this is new? Have people been talking about it, or am I out the loop?
I feel like it's one of those things that's been if you know, you know. And I say that just because this is something that I have actually been exercising since I was in grad school. So the first time that I ever did the Great Lock-In was my first year of grad school at the Real GSU.
We're not going to get this started, okay? I am a Georgia State Panther, and she went to Georgia Southern. But we're not going to start. We're going to have a friendly, healthy conversation.
Another conversation for another day.
That's another conversation for another day.
But no, in all seriousness, basically, once I started grad school, I kind of went into grad school with an intention that I wanted to take myself seriously. I think that was my true testament to, like, I'm a grown woman now. You know, I was granted the opportunity to have one more, like, stint at practice before going into the real world, and I wanted to get it right. And so for me, I went in with the intention with everything, whether it was family, friends, relationships, professionalism. I was going to give my all, and I was going to do things right, because I felt like if things did not work out, then it wasn't my doing, or it wasn't for me, because I was doing everything in alignment. And so with that, again, my first lock-in was back in 2018, and I started going to the gym. I was eating well, all the things that the people say that you're supposed to do. And what that resulted in was, by less than a year's time, I got my first internship within my field, and it was at my dream employer, which was Amari Healthcare of Atlanta. Mind you, just for notoriety, I had always said if I ended my career at Emory, that would be a dream come true. So it kind of quantum jumped me into having my dream come super quick. And I was like, oh, if there's a formula to this, let me just keep doing the math. Let me 2 + 2 = 4, 5 + 5 = 10. And I did it the next year, and it ended up granting me a fellowship program in New Orleans. And so that ended up being kind of my ticket out of Georgia, which changed my life completely. And it's just something that I've repeated, I guess, now for the past, what, 6, 7 years since
Wow.
2018.
Okay.
And it's something that I always like preach to people, specifically women. I feel like it's something with the divine feminine where it just works for us.
Uh-huh.
I always preach to women, I would say, think of your January 1 as September 1. Because to me, I think September 1 is when you should be like kind of brain dumping and like getting all your ideas out. I think you make a plan in October of like what things are you going to actually pick up off of the pen pad, you know? I think November you look to find the resources and you don't have to necessarily act on them, but it's like, okay, if I know I want to do X, Y, and Z, what are the ABC resources to each of these things? I think December, you look to make contact with those resources, and then you hit the ground running as a trial in January. Because to me, I feel like January is still winter, it's still slow moving, but you want to be incrementally making progress that you can test and kind of fail fast so that by spring, you're actually honing in on the things that work. And then by the end of Q2, entering Q3, you know, you have well working processes or systems, or you've seen, you know, milestone success. And then it's summertime, you can celebrate.
I mean, first of all, let's pause there because you just gave us a full bullet point of what to do. We can stop now. Okay, podcast over. That was great.
Sorry,
No,
I'm a yapper.
But that was really, honestly, trying to understand and break down what this lock-in looks like, and even that transition from what does that look like? Does that mean lock-in, like I gotta block everybody, and like what? And so, like I thought that was very interesting to hear kind of that bullet point of how to go about this lock-in.
I think to that point, I think you should always be doing internal audits and being introspective and reflective of the decisions that you make if you truly want to be operating in purpose and in alignment with whatever your God-given assignment is. And so to that point, I don't think that it necessarily needs to be like, I'm leaving you in 2025, like, you know, you're cut off. But I think as you start to make those changes, like people and things kind of drop off naturally when they're not aligned. When you are laser focused, if you have things that are constantly distracting you, you come to realize like, oh, I have to leave this in this season. And then whenever that point meets the decision point, you have a decision to make. And you can carry whatever that is with you, but just cognitively know it's going to be a dead weight, and it can either completely deter you or at best it's going to slow you down. And then I think that goes back to wherever you started when you were brain dumping in September of how committed are you to the things that you set for your outline in October. But I think that's discretionary, so I would never project like a right or wrong, because I think that that's an internal compass and you have to look inward to know how to move forward.
Yeah. I'm curious as to what made people talk about the Great Lock-In and how it's getting so popular on social media. Like, what is that saying about life right now?
My true opinion?
Yeah.
I think millennials are finally growing up and we're learning corporate jargon and terminology.
The Great Lock-In.
Yes, so people are like Q1, Q2, Q3. I saw someone say like Q4, I'm gonna lock in. It was September. It's like, that's not Q4, baby. We're still in Q3.
Right.
So I think that that's been kind of sensationalized. But beyond that, I think, again, we're growing up, like people in our age group. So maybe it's pertinent to like what we see in our orbit. But I think we're seeing a vast shift of people going from like, oh, you know, I want to party and have fun and do things. I also think, to your point, from like a societal standpoint, we've gone through a big shift in the last 5 years. Like life has changed tremendously for everyone post-COVID. And I think if COVID didn't change you, like that is kind of scary. Like that's another indicator. That's like saying you don't like Beyonce. Like I'm gonna judge a little bit if
just
you
a little bit if you didn't feel any of the societal shifts from past pandemic to now.
To that end, I think people are feeling this need for freedom and liberation, and there's a sense of time that I don't think that we all kind of locked into prior to COVID. And I think people are just actively living in their purpose and looking to find joy in things and in creative things, not mundane things of like, I have to be doing this. It's like, no, I want to be doing these things. And so as people, I guess, are kind of figuring themselves out and also figuring out the landscape that we're in, which has vastly changed since 2020, I think people are getting more serious about themselves. And I love that. I think it's a great societal shift. And I think the more that we do it, the better off that we'll be. So,
Yeah, and I think there's something so beautiful about locking in during the fall, winter season. It's like the year's Sunday, if you will, where you're sitting in, and fall, of course, symbolically, you're shutting off things. And so, and then you go through the season of like hibernation, if you will, and it's chilly. And even going into January, February, you're still in hibernation, but there's this mental thing about the new year.
It's a different thing. It's a different vibe between fall and winter. And to that end, I feel like I heard a quote recently, or maybe I saw it somewhere online, and it was like, fall is about to show us how beautiful it is to have things end. And to that point, it's not like winter where it's like icy and cold and everything's bare. It's a beautiful transition. Like, you get to watch foliage change. The seasons are changing. The weather is changing, but it feels slow. It feels tempered. And again, to me, that's why I feel like that's why people should look to that be the one, like your January 1 or the start of your year, because it shouldn't feel like such a stark contrast. To me, I think I also am someone who goes off of like my nervous system, and I go off of like my energy and like the energy around me. And I just feel like it's a slower temper into change, as opposed to that anxious driven, like, oh, I got to get this diet plan. I got to do this. I got to do that. Like, who wants to operate in purpose that way, or operate in change from a place of haste? Because I feel like when you do things hastily, you have more room for error, more mistake, more regret. Like, it's not as intentional. And I think, simply put, sometimes you have to take a step back to make a leap forward. And I think starting your year in September allows for that to happen gracefully.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of giving secret formula is doing the great lock-in kind of yields results in a way. Just kind of hearing of you mentioning even your internships, and even, which we did not mention, standing on business.
Yes. And
podcast.
Yes. I will say that for me, the way that has rounded out is that was the birth of how my podcast came to be. Going back to 2020, I had the conception of this idea. During the pandemic, I had a group of girlfriends, one of which had recently gotten married, and she eloped. So shout out to Kate. But she didn't have bridesmaids, and so she created a group chat with all of us called like Hot Girl Consultants. And we were all in different facets of career industries. Like, I think one of my friends at the time was looking to be a physical therapist. Another one was looking to be a mental health counselor. Another one was looking to be in event planning. I was going into healthcare. And so many different facets, similar to like what your purpose is in the girls' room of like bringing women together. And I was like, wouldn't it be great if we could start a formal consulting company based on all the things that we do, and people just kind of show up to this space and like talk to us, and we give back to them. Since that time, like, our lives have just kind of all changed, and we ended up going down different paths. And so that was not the right like vessel for the dream to be, but I kept locking in, and I never let go of that dream. And then 2024 happened, and I was staring my dream in the face, and I was like, it's been 5 years since I said I was going to do this. If I don't do this in 2025, I'm never going to do it. And I don't know what it was. I think my now co-host, we're a little bit more centrally focused in what it is that we offer. So we're both in healthcare. We're both in the same sorority. We both have the same kind of like entrepreneurial aspirations. So it was just a little bit more equally yoked, if that makes sense. And she had already taken a foot into entrepreneurship, and I'd seen it. So at that point, all of my fear had been removed, because I was like, oh, B does this. And I've been there with her. And it's been a really great space to be in, and it's been a very supportive space. And like, I've poured into her cup. So I called her up one day and was like, B, will you do this podcast journey with me? And she was like, yeah. Like, if anybody knows Bianca, she is literally the happiest, sweetest spirit ever. So she was like, girl, I was waiting on you to be ready. Like, I've been telling you, like, pick up a camera, do something. Like, you're going to get us out the hood.
Pick up a camera and do something.
Yeah, because if you know me personally, I'm very, I'm ambiverted, but preferably introverted. Like, I like being at home in my own space with my own, like, little, method to my madness of how I procure my life. But she forced me to get out of my shell a bit and to use my throat chakra and, like, start to speak and to have that confidence. And so I set the time with her and was like, I made the call in September and was like, B, do you mind coming to New York in October for us to shoot some episodes and get some content? And she was like, yeah, like, I love travel. Say the word, tell me when, I'll be there. And so from there in October, from September to October, we put together a year. Really, if I'm being honest, we have like 5 years worth of episodes and content
What?
from that first session. We're also crazy, so don't feel like you got to do what we do. Like, do your
I
own
don't
thing.
even, wow.
But
Wow.
we have a theme of what we want to do for the next 5 seasons of the podcast
That's
based on
awesome.
that one September.
That's awesome.
And we've pivoted, of course, like at times have changed, and the material that we want to speak to might be pertinent at different spaces and blocks. But so far, we've stayed pretty true to that course that we've set, and it's made it a lot easier as we've navigated the trials and tribulations of now being in the space. Like, it's one thing to plan, it's another when you're in it and it's like, oh, this isn't working, or oh, this isn't quite the vision, or it's not coming the way that I want to. But having that initial foundation has really set us up for like longitudinal success, and it's made it easier for us to work together in this new space. Because I will tell anybody who wants to start a new business, especially with a friend, it's like having a newborn. And I'm sure you can attest to that of like, this is your brainchild, you know, it's something that you thought here and then you wrote it down and now it manifests tangibly. Like, I can hold this mic.
Yeah.
I can look at you. There's cameras, you know, and not only that, behind this room, this is impactful. Like, there are people who are tuning in and excited and are getting gems and are being helped along the way or fulfilled in some way. And so, you know, you think about that and it's like, okay, how do I continue down this path in a way that helps to continue to promote the purpose of why this was ever even placed as a seed in my brain. But yeah, I think the Great Lock-In really helps to support that, and it helps with sustainability long term when you do it right and you do it incrementally.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So
wow.
The Great Lock-In is the reason we have Stand on Business podcast. That's why I'm here today. So if that's not a testament, I don't know what is.
There you go. And we're going to shout them out again, but please make sure to follow Standing on Business podcast on Instagram, and they're also on YouTube. But we'll shout them out again later. But they're really great for those who really want to hone in on, no pun intended, again, standing on business.
No, we got you.
Yeah. So we going into segment 2 called The Girls Want to Know.
Yes. Spicy. It smells juicy.
Yes. We like to talk about the social media topics that the girls are talking about, and it's still tying into the Great Lock-In. So we asked our audience what the Great Lock-In, Lord help me.
Ooh, okay.
We asked our audience what the Great Lock-In looks like for you.
Okay.
And one of the answers that stuck out to me was more discipline, period, was their response.
Ooh, the girls aren't wrong.
They're not playing. And to be honest with you, discipline, it is so rewarding when you actually do lock in and you're disciplined on something, but it ain't easy. It sound good. It really do. Like, I know I'm someone that's like, ooh, I'm going to be so disciplined. And then it's day 1 and then day 2 and then day 3. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm on my period and I want to have a cookie and I want to, you know.
No,
and
literally, when people ask my favorite food, I say dessert.
Yeah,
so,
I want some ice cream. And maybe my Great Lock-In was to juice more. And I'm like, yeah. And then days go by and it's like, well, after my 5, or for some of us 7, etc. days, then I'll lock back in again. And then you forget about the lock-in and then you blink and it's November. And you're like, oh, I forgot. Wasn't I supposed to do something? Yeah. So I do appreciate that a lot of people are really trying to challenge themselves to lock in. I was watching this YouTuber. She was talking about the Great Lock-In. I also reposted her on our stories. And she was basically talking about some of the things about locking in and what that means to her. And one of the things she mentioned was having an end goal of intent. And when you don't have an end goal of intent, your lock-in is not going to be what you want because you don't know exactly what you want. You lock in into what exactly?
A theory. An illusion.
Literally. And so she said, for example, when she had a goal of like 75 hard, for example, she said she's tried it multiple times and has not made it past X amount of days. But then when she actually was like, okay, I want 75 hard because of this goal, she's now like 3-4 weeks, I believe, in, and she feels extremely empowered. And so I think that just hearing about discipline, like it really does come with like when it's saying like period, like kind of there's like a period at the end of the sentence. Like there's something that's your goal that's going to be the end to this time frame of discipline, if you will. So
I will say to that end, I have 2 things to say. I've always struggled with discipline. It is something that I still struggle with today. Anybody that knows me personally will tell you that. But I think someone imparted this on me, and it has been so transformative in my idea of discipline ever since it was imparted. Pretty much they expressed that like discipline is a form of self-love, is one of the highest forms of self-love. And whatever you're not choosing for yourself today, you're settling for tomorrow. And they asked me to coin discipline. Instead of saying discipline, say devotion. Like, you're not disciplining yourself, you're devoted to something that you want, or you're devoted to something that's greater than you.
I love that,
girl.
I
was like, oh, it's
that changes for me.
Yeah.
Like devotion, it feels like
it feels nice.
It sounds nice. It feels Jane Austen, very like devotion. I'm devoted to myself.
It gives
like,
passion.
Hold on, I want that for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like it helps to magnetize the attraction of like, you are devoted to your desires and your desires want you just as bad. So it's like, I'm not disciplined to go to the gym. It's like, no, I'm devoted to this. Like, I deserve that body in the summertime. Let me get up and go now so that when I put on this bikini, or I, when I do want to fall off, because 75 hard is not something that I'm doing year round, but it's like, if I'm devoted to this for this stint of time, that means that I do get a little bit of leeway when I want to play. And I think going back to devotion and going back to how you look at your calendar year, you have to figure out, when do you want to be locked in and when do you get to play a little bit? That is something that, another thing that I live by is like, work hard, play harder.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're devoted to this and you've worked for it, show it off, go have fun. Like, be prideful in that, and not in a way that lacks humility or being humble, but you worked for it. And you should be proud of the results that you get, of the devotion that you put into yourself or to your project or to your people. Like, it's yielded great results because you were devoted. And now you've set a new, like, I guess, ceiling for yourself. And now you found your next floor to continue to go off of. Another thing that I want to impart just quickly before we transition, I think we live in a world of like boxes and like confines. I'm not a big proponent of things that feel very rigid. So I actually am not a fan of like 75 hard, soft, whatever, because I think it's kind of like when you go to the doctor and they're like, your BMI is this. And it's like, okay, but that looks different across like race, ethnicity, gender, whatever. And I don't think that many things in life are one size fits all. And so to that end, I think you figure out what a plan is or a modified version of that looks like for you, and you give yourself grace through that. And maybe your inaugural year doesn't need to be 75 hard, or you don't need to, beat yourself up for failing, like, because you're learning. And even that is progress from last year when you were just sitting on the couch. So I think, again, like, maybe don't look at it in the season of analyzing yourself. Compare season to season and see how much you've grown there. Like, even if it's like, hey, last year I did 75 hard and I failed. Maybe this year, like, I know that I can't not drink. Maybe instead of just cutting that out completely and being super hard on yourself, say like, okay, I only drink socially. But like, if I'm at home, or if it's the weekday, or even if it's the weekday and it is social, I'm not drinking during the week. But you still allow yourself, the thing or whatever it is, because I think that's what promotes the sustainability, not the hard contrast. Because really, that's sets you up, I think, more for failure than it does success.
I think to that point, it's important. I think I've told you this before, and how I keep in my planner, instead of writing out the day of what I want to do, I write out the things I accomplished.
I love that.
And I think that kind of helps with that discipline too, of if you decide, for example, I'm not going to drink as much, like you mentioned, then it's something where I can write out like, okay, I didn't drink this day, or okay, I did have a sip, and I can kind of look back and be like, oh, but Monday through Thursday, I didn't get a glass of wine. Like, I told myself I was going to ease off on drinking, but then maybe Friday night I did drink. Okay, Saturday I was, and then after a while you kind of see it. Like, there's this app that I love to use to work out, the Ladder app, not sponsored, but you can if you want to. And what I love is that they have a calendar, and they literally keep you on track and push you to hit your 3-day streak. Only 3. And it doesn't have to be 3 consecutive days. It can be as long as within the 7 days. Just to at least work out for three times, at least 30 minutes.
Yes.
And it's something so powerful of looking back at the calendar, even if you didn't hit your streak, but going, wow, I worked out X amount of times this month. I worked out within the 30, I worked out 20 days out of the month. Like, that's something to be proud of. Or even I now, I like to walk. That's been my latest thing, especially since
Hot girl walk.
moving back out here. I love a hot girl walk. And so I have my walking tracker, because if I didn't have that, after a while, I might stop walking and I wouldn't do it. But when I see it, I'm like, oh, I burned X amount of calories. Wow, I did a X mile. Okay. And then I can see my time, and those things are fun. So I think any type of little incremental things that we can add, if that means adding a hatch alarm so you can get up and that helps you get up, then I agree that maybe the rigid is one of the things that's scaring us from doing this devotion to ourselves.
And to that point, I had like several different downloads, so I'm gonna get it all out and then we can like go to the next thing, I promise.
Okay.
But I feel like even you saying that of like I walk, the world right now is like running on run clubs. Like everyone run club, run club. Or like Gunna just had his 5K. Like everyone is thinking like I need to run. Some people just need to walk, and that's still progress. And like maybe you get to run one day, maybe you never run, maybe you're a walker. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think kind of the theme that I'm getting from this discussion, and just in general as we're like talking through, like I'm having my own revelation, is like maybe the whole theme of the Great Lock-In is just having a perspective shift. It's that mind shift of like looking at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. And like, even if it is half empty, it's half full. So what are you going to do with the resources that are there to make it abundant and to fill your cup up? And I feel like going back to the devotion word, like, you know, I'm a Christian girly, I'm God's girl. I feel like the overarching theme is that God just wants you to love yourself and see yourself the way that he does. So as long as you're doing that and that's the path that you're following, like you'll get to where you're going, and it doesn't have to look like anything to anyone but you and him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It's an individual journey.
It's an individual
That's
journey.
really what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful that as we're talking about, I love these trends. They're so wholesome. I love trends like that. There's some trends that are a little diabolical, and sometimes I'm here for the spice. I'm not gonna hold you. But I love this. I love that it's so wholesome. It makes me think of my first episode that I had here that was talking about rest. And now going into this latter half of the year, and the conversation is locking in. And I'm here for these conversations. It's like there's a lot of things happening in the world. Like it just feels like everything is on fire, but we're still trying to find our center within those things. And so I love that. So with that being said, we're going to go to segment 3.
Let's get into it.
So you're now in the hot seat. So these are some rapid fire questions for you. Okay. Are you ready?
I don't know. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. They say that you're supposed to stay ready so that you never have to get ready. So let's go with that.
Okay, let's do it. So what's your favorite motivational sound on TikTok right now? Or if there's any sound that you love on TikTok right now?
Oh, let me think. What are my stems? It's like, this is so embarrassing. It's like whenever you're like put on the spot, it's like, I had it all until I didn't. What is it? My favorite one right now is Twas by Scott Louis.
Oh my God.
And I feel like
shout out to him.
Shout out to Scott.
Shout out to my Jamaican brethren. Yes.
But in that, I feel like it's so simple yet profound. Like it is such a good like motivator to get up off your butt and go get it. To have that celebration, it promotes community. I feel like, and I don't know, it's just cute. It's simple, and it's something that you can easily remember. But it's a motivator for me of like, I don't know, like I do something and I'm like, oh, to us. Like even if it's a celebratory thing just for me as an individual, I'd still lean on my community. Like I couldn't have a celebratory moment without my friends or my family or, you know, my little Boomy, like my baby. For anyone who doesn't know, I have a Frenchie and he is my world.
We love Boomy.
But you know, it's like it's a thing for me.
I love that. I love that celebratory thing. It makes me think of like when Rick Ross like came up with like Aston Martin. It's like something that makes you just feel like I worked hard for this, so I'm gonna celebrate.
And maybe that's what it does for me too. It pulls me back into that nostalgic moment of like Aston Martin music.
I'm not even gonna start.
No.
I'm not even gonna start.
No, we don't want to get copyright infringement.
Right.
It's okay. We'll keep going.
We'll sing later. All right. So, favorite song you play when you need to lock in?
Ooh, it's probably always gonna be. You know what? I was about to say something and I caught it before it came out. It's "Get Up 10" by Cardi B.
Okay.
It is always for me going to be Get Up 10 by Cardi B, because I
Okay.
feel like that was the introductory song on her freshman album.
Okay.
And I, in so many ways, feel like I can relate to my girl Cardi. Shout out to Cardi. Shout out to the new album. Y'all better go get her stuff.
Yes, that album did just drop.
It also eats. But to that end, like, I'm very big on intention and affirmational. So, like, to that point, every time she references herself, I self-reference myself as Mari G.
Please. Okay.
LOL. Don't judge.
Album coming soon.
Yes. Buy my stuff. But basically, the song starts off like they gave a girl two options, dancing or lose. I used to dance right across from like at the club right across from our school. I said dance, not F. Don't get it confused. Had to like set the record straight because girls love to assume.
Come on, lyrics.
Yeah, love it. Like, and it's to me just such a testament, I feel like, to my life of like, you can knock me down 9 times, I'm going to get up 10. And anything that has ever been thrown at me is something that I repurpose into purpose. So it's like, you can hate me, you can talk about me, you can, you know, doubt me. I'm going to use all that to fuel myself to be the underdog, to come out on top and always prove something to myself, like in the sense of resiliency, but also like to quiet the noise around me of like, now what?
I love that.
I got a Grammy, now what?
Okay.
I got a podcast, now what? You know, so whatever it is, I think that for me has just been motivational. And it's a really good like gym song. Like when you have that aggression or that fire in your belly to be like, yeah.
I'm gonna add that to my playlist.
Please do. We can play it, you know, post show and you'll get the vibe.
Love that. Her, you.
Shout out to Cardi.
Shout out to Mari G.
Crying.
Okay, and then dream collab. So if you could have a podcast guest or etc. brand partnering, what would that be?
My chest is beating so fast right now, and she knows who she is, and I've already mentioned Scott Louis. It is Blake Newby.
Okay.
I adore Blake.
I love
and
that.
Not in the sense of like idolatry of like, oh, like Blake. It's more so like, she was the first content creator that I started kind of tapping to when I moved to Jersey. She was a New York girly, and then she ended up moving to Jersey. And I actually met Blake at Essence last year. And I set the intention with my best friend and co-host Bianca, and I was like, if I meet Blake, I know I'm on the right path. Like if I can just meet Blake, then I know like whatever I'm doing right now, I know I'm doing the right thing. I ended up meeting her on the last day of Essence. And I walked up to her and I was like, you're my Beyonce. And she was like, okay.
She might be like, okay, girl.
Yeah, but also very kind, like very much relatable to her online persona, who I had grown to really appreciate. And was just a nice girl. Like, and I think for me, I was in a season and a time of like transitioning through different friendships and transitioning in work and in business. And I was just really unsure of some of the choices that I had made and if I was following the right path. But going back to when I had first started watching her content, I didn't feel like she was fake. I didn't feel like the things that she was showcasing, whether it was like her Get Ready With Me's or telling about like her brand partnerships or events that she was going to, it all just felt like we were walking with her on her own walk of life. And it really helped me to change the framing in my mind of what it looks like to be a producer in media, of like what content I put out into the world. And it let me know that I didn't have to subscribe to what other people were doing around me. I just needed the confidence in myself to be myself and showcase myself. So I would love to one day have her sit down so she could really understand, like, I don't even want to cry. I would really love for her to know just how much she helped me in a season where I was so lost. And just let her know, like, girl, you are my Beyonce still. I really appreciate you, Pooh. So, yeah, it would be Blake. I think she's amazing. I think anyone listening here should also go listen to her. She has a podcast.
Yeah, her podcast is very good.
It is so good. And it's funny because her podcast came out during the season of us doing the Great Lock-In for us creating ours.
Oh, wow.
So it was another thing of like an alignment thing of like, oh, girl, you don't even know we're about to be in this industry. And it's funny because I think one of the last things that I said in our in-person conversation was like, all my friends tell me I should get into media and get into like content or whatever. And I'm like, I just don't want to. And she was like, no, if you feel like you can do it, do it. And I was like, yeah, girl, because everybody ain't able. And she was like, they're not, you know, she's like, but if you feel called and you feel favored in that way, do it. So I would love to like kind of revisit that conversation of like, girl, I'm able, you know, just to like kind of close that loop.
You really are. And I think that's so great too. I mean, of course, like in this podcast, it's of course celebrating the guests we love and admire, but that's the whole premise of the Girls Room, of course, is stories and women having a voice. And I think that's the great thing about Blake and even the people that she showcases on her podcast and her journey from Essence to now. And I think that's admirable. And I love that she's very real with the things that she talks about. And, you know, I'm sure she has other things going on with her life that she holds sacred to her. But for the most part, there was an episode she even had about wanting children and the conversation of freezing her eggs. And that's a real thing, especially being a woman in my 30s now. And like, you don't think about those conversations and then you hear it and you're like, oh shoot, like, interesting. Is this like, is this the crossroad that you face when you're not in a relationship yet, but you want to be in a relationship? But you don't want anything to deter you from also having children. It was a real and very vulnerable conversation that I think just kind of going off rail. But all that to say is that I totally understand how she could be your Beyonce. She's amazing. And shout out to you, Blake. Shout out to being an inspiration to the girls. We appreciate it. So Dream Collab speak into existence. If it happens, all I ask for is a VIP seat so I can watch the episode.
Your assistant the days that you do your podcast. Let me put your water, whatever you need, sister. I got you.
Definitely. All right. And to close, we are into segment 4. Real talk. So we're going to kind of go back to this great lock-in conversation, and it kind of goes into what I love to talk about, which is main character energy, because in my head, and maybe it's also being a Leo, but
I mean, we're Leo sisters.
You know,
you're talking to the right crowd.
Yeah. So in my head or in our heads, like main character, it's like, this is like, we wake up, you know, when you watch like the Disney movie and you hear like the song Suddenly I See, and they wake up and they open the blinds and the sun is coming in.
McGuire, and you are Hannah Montana.
Exactly. And so I do feel like there's ways to make this great lock-in sexy and not feel like you're going into like this like dungeon feel, because something about lock-in too also in the fall and winter kind of feels like locking door and you're like you know, in a room.
Alone.
Yeah, kind of
sacrifice.
Like
spooky season.
Yes. And so I know there's a way to make it fun and sexy, so I kind of wanted to talk on that because there are ways. Some of the ways that I think that we can make the great lock-in hot and sexy, one is what we wear and how we speak to ourselves as well. Our skincare, how we pour in that way. I think the surface level, starting on the top of the mountain and then going down that funnel to the bottom of the mountain. What we listen to, if it's that girl la la music, or if you're not girl la la and it's, I don't know, fill in the blank name of Gunna. If, for example, if you're an Atlanta girl and you want to play Gunna or Guy, because we do have our male listeners as well, then whatever it is that you listen to. But I think there's a way that we can make this not draining.
I agree, and I think the key to that is romanticizing it. As a girl, especially, I think there's something so sacred about like feminism and being a woman, and whether that is you in your light or in your darkness. Because I also think like I'm big on my astrology. So I am, I'm giving y'all some tea.
Spill it.
I am a Leo sun, I am an Aries moon, and I'm a Scorpio rising.
Okay.
That's a lot of energy.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
It's a lot.
I'm scared.
Don't be.
Let me leave. Oh my God, he's a lightning bolt. Oh my God.
But like, I think in that you have to romanticize it. So for me, I really lean into my Scorpio rising during the Great Lock-In, because it's kind of like a femme fatale. Like, it's a dark feminine energy, but it's more so like I'm going to like do things my way, and I'm going to say no to things. I'm going to be sad and emotional and like purge my rage and like really sit with the seasons of what I'm going through in that moment, whether it's I'm a workaholic, because I think that working is a more masculine trait especially the way that we work, like is I'm doing this, and then I'm doing that, and then I'm doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's not necessarily feminine, but you romanticize that of like, I'm a girl boss. And not only am I doing that for me, I'm doing that for the girls that I'm impacting currently, and then whatever is coming behind me, you know? So even in that, it can be scary to do it, or it can feel aggressive to be like, no, I have a full calendar, and like, I know, I like, you know, get on, schedule this with so-and-so, but ultimately it's still feminine. You know, you're still getting things done. And I think there's a way to still be soft in that. I think like Halloween, you can either make it cutesy and be like super pumpkin spice and latte,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you
definitely.
can be a Playboy bunny, like, you know,
And that too.
you know, like I think that there's so much fun in like lace and leather. Like I think it all just depends on like the intention that you set and what you want to feel during that time, and how it is that you can like transmute the things that are like dark or that seem painful or stressful into like more of that devoted space and alchemize it to be all of the positive things that you want to see by the time spring comes around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the theme of that is like that spin is just romanticizing it. Like maybe in the fall you get roses and you allow them to fully die out, and you keep the dead roses as opposed to like throwing them away the way that you normally would, to really be able to like appreciate the beauty of a full process.
I love that. That makes me think of, shout out to my old roommate, Danae, also a fantastic, very successful model. She had a brand, and I believe she's bringing it back, but she had a brand where she would save dead flowers and make them into bookmarks. And some people would even send flowers, and she would make them into bookmarks. So, that is something also too. And if her brand is continuing, guys, I'll be sure to plug it in and mention it on our social. So you guys can do that if that's something as a challenge that you're interested going into the Great Lock-In, is keeping your dead flowers and then creating them into something beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that's a great idea of just romanticizing it, because Great Lock-Ins don't have to be so, it does not have to be so rigid. And I feel like on social media, sometimes we make it feel very rigid. Like I need to lock in. And granted, yes, there should be, you know, a battery pack on our back to also like get right, but also be kind to yourself as you're doing that.
Yeah. I'll say too, another quote that I heard and like that comes to mind in this conversation is, grief is the final act of love. And I think that goes back to kind of the beginning of this conversation, and like there's so much beauty in letting things go. I think that there's a season to grieve, and sometimes grief never leaves you. And we've had other conversations about other things, about some of the things that could pertain to, but you know, when you're grieving something or you're going through a process of metamorphosis and you're having to shed layers, like it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel anything and to give honor to that process. But there does come a time where you have to let it go, whether that's a job, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a family member, you know, physical or spiritual, you know, where there's a transition. Like there is so much beauty and love in grief, and also the art of just letting things go and be, so that new things can come to bloom. And you have to think, in you letting things go, you create the capacity and the opportunity for new things to take the space of that. So I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a journey, it's shedding, but it's still good. It's like, I'm a fashion girl, so a lot of things relate to clothes. It's like giving clothes away, and there's memories tied to clothing, but sometimes you have to give those things away in order to make space for new.
Yes, and too, you never realize how that's tied to someone else. Like something that may be old to you might be new and useful to someone else, and it's a blessing. And so it's continuing that cycle of like, even though you may have had to let something go, it never truly leaves or dies. Like energy is transferred. It never is lost or created.
Love that.
Yeah.
So in closing, this is my favorite part I love to tell my guests, is a love note to women. Women who are going through this season, preparing for the Great Lock-In, maybe a little nervous, maybe a little excited. What would you say to them as your word of encouragement?
Remember, I told you, like, when I was in high school, the boys used to go around and be like, respect yourself, respect yourself.
Yes, I remember.
The elevated version of what I would say now to women is honor yourself. In each and every season of your life, honor yourself. Nobody knows you the way that you know you. No one will ever, at any stage in your life, fully know all of your layers, all of your seasons, all of the things that make you who you are. And nobody but God knows your vision to know where you're going. Trust yourself. Take time with yourself. Be gentle and graceful with yourself. If you can give grace to these jobs to your family, to your mama, to your man, you can definitely give it to you because you are your number one asset and priority. And I think, again, main character energy, we're the sun. You are the sun, baby girl. And nothing in your life moves outside of your orbit. The sun doesn't move for anything. You have to make sure that everything in your life is moving around what you have capacity for. And in order to do that, you have to honor yourself and know what your limits are and know what your dreams are. And when you know what those are, go after them and don't let anyone put a cap on you.
I love
That's
that.
it.
Thank you so much for being in the girls' room, Amari.
Thank you for having me. I love it here.
Yes, it's such a great space. It's a safe space.
It really, truly, genuinely, like I'm saying this to you, like you are doing an amazing job.
Oh, thank you.
This is beautiful.
Thank you.
I feel safe. I feel poured into today. I'm happy for whoever I've been able to pour into. I feel where this is going to go, and I cannot wait for you and all this locking in to yield more tangible results, because this is just the beginning for you. And like you're doing so great, and I'm just so proud of you, and I want to give you your flowers and push you to continue with this because this is something so special. And like, it's one thing for us to talk about it, it's another for me to see you do the work. It is a completely different thing for me to be in it, sitting on this side of the table with you, and to know, like, as confirmation, like, my girl got this. So keep having it, boo.
Thanks, boo. That's why I love having friends on the show, y'all. It's so affirming for me. Tell your audience where we can find you, and also to shout out the podcast as well and where we can find you as well.
Yes. So my personal Instagram is withlove_Amari. And for honestly, all social media, that is where you can find me. On LinkedIn, I am Amari Green, MHA. So that LinkedIn tag is right now, currently, it'll always be updated year over year, but it's just Amari Green _2025. It may not even be an underscore. I might be saying that wrong. But yeah, put the underscore, take it off. I don't know where you're going to go. And then for the podcast, it is at standingonbusiness.pod. And we are streaming on all major platforms and on YouTube. So whether that is Apple Music, Spotify, Heart, we're on everything. Wherever you can get it, we will give it. So that's where we can keep in touch. And please keep in touch. And if there's ever any way that I can help any of you specifically, feel free to reach out to me on any platform you feel comfortable, or an email, which is in our bio as well. It should be contact.standingonbusiness@gmail.com. Feel free to ask me any questions. Nothing is too small or too big for me to handle or to give back. So let's stay connected.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening to episode 4. Please stay tuned for more things with the Girls Room, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.